Hey everybody, and welcome to AMC Movie Talk for movie fans. I'm your host, Ashley Melva, and this is the daily show where we give you all of the latest news from the world of movies, plus a little bit of insight into what it all means. Joining us as always is AMC Movie News Editor-in-Chief, Jon M.
Well, greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome to the best damn movie-related show on the planet Earth, coming to you from right here at the AMC Movie News headquarters here in Burbank, California, and we are so glad you decided to make us part of your day.
And also here is writer-director Jon M.
What's going on, everybody? I'm happy to be here. Almost didn't make it. There's a lot of work going on. And Dennis, you notice all those people, construction. Oh, yeah. People very happily like making our roads safer. You know, it's not a good time to travel, though.
Also here is AMC's Christian Harloff.
Construction, watching Daredevil again.
Well, there has been a lot of buzz and speculation about the possibility of Lucasfilm, now under the ownership of Disney, producing another Indiana Jones movie. Now we have our first real piece of confirmation that another Indy is indeed on the way. The following excerpt is taken from Vanity Fair. In buying the company, Disney also got rights, for better or worse, to less storied Lucasfilm properties, among them Willow and Radioland Murders. A bigger prize is the Indiana Jones franchise. Kennedy confirmed rumors that another Indy movie will one day be made inside this company. When it will happen, I'm not quite sure. We haven't started working on a script yet, but we are talking about it. Jon, is it a good idea for Lucasfilm to make another Indiana Jones movie?
I mean, it is great to hear somebody from Lucasfilm, well, the head of Lucasfilm, to finally come out and say, yep, we are going to do that. We haven't started yet, but we are going to do that. So that's really the first true, actual, authentic confirmation that they're going to do it. Is it a good idea, though? It depends. From my point of view, at any rate, it depends on which way they go. If they are rebooting Indiana Jones, yes, it is a great thing to do. I want to revisit new Indiana Jones adventures with a younger Indiana Jones and all that kind of stuff. If they are trying to make a sequel to Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, then I will be less enthusiastic. I mean, they still could make it awesome, might be great, but just from a starting point, I'm going to be less enthusiastic. I don't want to see, a 75 or 80-year-old Indiana Jones in the early 1980s, crossing paths with the hot tub time machine guys. I'm not interested in that. I'm interested, I've said this before, I'll say it again, I want to see Indy fighting Nazis. That's what I want to see, whether it's Chris Pratt or whether it's, any of these other guys that have been mentioned, I'm totally cool with. But, so yeah, I'm happy it's coming. I would prefer it, though, if it's a younger Indy. Schnepp, what about you?
Yeah, I mean, I would like them to reboot it, but I always get concerned, like, I don't even know how many years it's been since the Crystal Skull. So like 4 or 5 years?
7 years?
And that was a disappointing film, to say the least. And then they're announcing, yeah, we're definitely going to do something with Indiana Jones, but we don't even have a script yet. I mean, that's just, that's like at least 6 years away. That's what it feels like to me. So I don't really get that excited. I was really excited when they started talking about Chris Pratt playing Indiana Jones. I was like, wow, awesome. They must be getting ready to go. And then the whole developmental process where it has to be a story by George Lucas. That's kind of like what, it's always has a, and Spielberg's like, well, we have a story. But Lucas wasn't happy with it. It's just that whole thing feels like as a fan of Raiders of the Lost Ark, and I love the original trilogy, just going through that whole waiting process for them to finally make a fourth one and then it being kind of a stinker. I don't have that much excitement. I mean, I'll get excited once they're like, we're actually filming the new Indiana Jones movie. But at this point, when they say, yeah, we're going to make something, but we don't even have a script yet,
You guys are leaving out the most important part.
Radioland Murders. Yes.
No, look, I'm actually really excited for this news. And because of what Kathleen Kennedy said, she said, it's going to happen. And not like, oh, we need it to happen now because it's going to make us money, so it's going to be here next year. I actually like that they're going to develop it. And I actually have to go against the fact of not having Harrison Ford in it because of this reason. I think that by having an old Harrison Ford again, what you do is almost what they did in The Last Crusade with River Phoenix, the late River Phoenix, is let's say River Phoenix eventually was going to pick up the mantle. By introducing him in that movie, you would have been more accepting to him later on. I think that they can do that again with Indiana Jones here, Harrison Ford, whatever the new mission is. And you can put him in a different circumstance where it doesn't seem so modern, because I don't want to see him in the 80s next to some guy with a beatbox or everything. I don't want to see that either. But you could put him in some kind of jungle or something because it's timeless, so you put him there, but in that you have a flashback to whoever that actor is going to be, whether it be Chris Pratt or whoever it might be. You flash back to that character, and inside of that going, okay, this is going to set up now the new adventures of Indiana Jones, and now it's a little easier for that actor to take on the mantle because it's almost like Harrison Ford going, all right, kid, go for it. And so that's how I think they should do it. I hope they do it that way. But I liked Kathleen Kennedy's comments a lot that they're not rushing it and they're going to do it when it's right.
Yeah, Lucasfilm is a little busy right now. Yeah. They got a few things on their plate right now.
I think that if your idea has to happen, they have to rush it because Harrison Ford is like 75 or something. They can't wait 7 years, 8 years.
But I mean, he doesn't necessarily have to be running. It depends on how they do it.
He can crash 3 more planes between now and then.
That's true. So. But he could also do it, and they could give more to do to the young actor. And maybe it's just Indiana Jones reflecting on what's happening.
Indiana Jones in his study, in his rocking chair, talking to his grandkids back in 1929, and then flashback
There's my whip.
They did that with the Indiana Jones television show. They actually filmed Harrison Ford, and you could watch that. That footage was never made part of the TV show, but they filmed it, and it's on YouTube. They just
when he's going down a snowy mountain and stuff too.
Yeah, he's like with the old grizzly man, like, hey, make me some soup, Yeah. It's weird. You should watch it.
All right, what's next?
Today marks exactly 1 year until Captain America Civil War comes to AMC theaters on May 6, 2016, and Marvel dropped a rather significant bit of casting news. Star of Sherlock and the Hobbit films, Martin Freeman, has joined the ever-growing cast of Civil War in an undisclosed role. The addition of Freeman means both Sherlock and Dr. Watson, Benedict Cumberbatch and Martin Freeman, are now in the MCU. Schnepp, do you like the addition of Freeman, and who do you think he could be playing?
I'm going to bust the news out here on AMC Movie Talk. Exactly. Martin Freeman is playing Baron Blood.
Oh, you think?
No.
Oh.
I think he's going to be like some, nameless senator, like Senator Scrimbles, and he's like, I think the hero act must be passed. I think he's going to be one of those guys. That's my guess.
Okay, first of all, I love the addition of Martin Freeman because whenever you add talent, that's a good thing. Yes. Although I will admit the first time I heard it, I thought the guy said Morgan Freeman. So that's a totally different kind of movie all of a sudden. But what you just said is exactly what I thought. I thought he's going to play a Robert Redford-esque kind of role. He's going to be a government person, whether he's a senator or a law enforcement person or whatever. And which side of the thing he'll come down on Cap's side or Iron Man side, don't know. But I do think, whenever we hear about a named person joining a comic book movie, we instantly rush to think, which comic book character are they playing? Well, it's like, no. There's lots of other characters they could play that aren't necessarily straight out of the comic books like Robert Redford did. And my guess is it's probably going to be something along those lines. Anyway, Christian, what do you think?
Yeah, first of all, I'm super excited that he's in it. I love him. I think that he adds something every time he's on screen. As far as who he's going to play, I think that there were some rumors floating around that he was going to play a version, and you guys, I'm not going to pretend I know about this stuff. You can correct me right away. But in the Civil War comic, there's an actual senator that helps out. I guess is on the side more with Cap, and he kind of helps him. But I think that particular character is being played by somebody in the X-Men film, so they don't have rights to that name. I guess that they were. I don't know if that's something that I read.
It was Gyrick.
Maybe I don't remember the actual, but I had read that earlier, and so I was wondering. I wonder if that's a guy. But I agree with you guys. I think it's Martin Freeman. So what he's doing, bringing more validity to this senator. When you say, I don't think he needs to play a superhero. I don't think he needs to play a villain. I'd like to see him helping. I think helping Cap would be fun.
And if you haven't watched the television show Sherlock, and all you really know Martin Freeman from is the Hobbit films, honestly, it's not the best movie in the world, but his performance is incredible. Go watch At World's End. The one he did with Edgar Wright and Simon Pegg. He's really quite good in that. Yeah. So go and check that out if you want a little bit of a background template for him. All right, folks, so reach that part of the show for buy and sell. In front of her ass, she's got a few other items in the world of movie news. She's going to run them down. And those of us at the table are simply going to say whether we buy it or sell it. So Ashley, what do we got?
G.I. Joe Retaliation and the upcoming Now You See Me, the second act director, Jon M. has just signed on with Paramount to produce an upcoming action-adventure film, Escape. Not much is known about the film other than it centers on a group of tech-savvy criminals recruited on a mission. Chu's next film to hit theaters is Gem and the Holograms, which will hit AMC theaters on October 23rd. Christian, buy or sell the sounds of Escape?
I'm going to sell it. It sounds like Now You See Me again. He's doing, and we haven't seen the sequel. It sounds like that. And then the fact that he's had G.I. Joe for his credits, and then Gem and the Holograms, which I'm not exactly lining up around the corner to see. Maybe it's incredible. As far as hearing this, it doesn't get me excited. It just seems kind of like a throwaway popcorn flick, which it might be, or it could be a gem. So we'll see what happens, but hearing it, sell it.
No, I got to sell this. Look, the movie might end up being great. I'm definitely going to give it a chance. There's something a little bit alluring about the idea of, criminals being recruited for a good mission. Gee, where have I heard that before? Anyway, so but look, it's how can you say no to the guy who brought us not one but two Justin Bieber documentaries? And how can you question the decision making process of a guy who walked away from He-Man Masters of the Universe to do Jem and the Holograms? I was not a fan of what he did with G.I. Joe Retaliation. Who knows what's going to happen with the Now You See Me sequel? Maybe he'll crush that and knock it out of the park. And if he does, we got to reevaluate our position. But for now, for me, it's a sell.
I'm going to buy it just because it just sounds like one of those, escape plan with Sylvester Stallone and Arnie, but with no names yet. So it could just be a weird motley crew of like B-list actors, which could be awesome. Just like character actors, all like,
Pauly Shore.
He's the one who's the tech savvy guy. That's the guy who does the computer stuff. That's the dude who cracks the safe or whatever, It sounds like one of those films. So, and with my excitement about Jem and the Holograms, I'm just, I'm enthusiastically going to buy this.
All right, what's next?
A lot of enthusiasm behind that one.
According to Deadline, a short list of directors have emerged that Sony Pictures is looking at to direct the upcoming Spider-Man reboot in 2017. The trade cautions that there could be other candidates, but these names are currently on Sony's list. The directors in the running are Jonathan Levine, 50/50 and Warm Bodies, Ted Melfi, St. Vincent, Jason Moore, Pitch Perfect, John Francis Daly and Jonathan Goldstein, Vacation, and Jared Hess, Napoleon Dynamite, and Nacho Libre. John, buy or sell this list of potential directors for the new Spider-Man.
Now, granted, if you had come to me and said, hey, the Russo brothers, remember from that TV comedy show and whatever, are going to be doing a Captain America movie, I mean, what? But that turned out great. It has worked. But for now, I'm going to sell. I really don't see any of these directors right now as guys who can come in and take over a franchise like this. But that doesn't mean there isn't a diamond in there. They could be great. What stands out most to me about this list, though, is the glaring absence of Drew Goddard. Where's he? I mean, it was just a couple of months ago that we heard that he was actually in talks with Sony to actually take over the new Spider-Man. The dude was supposed to be doing the Sinister Six spinoff. He did that work on Daredevil and things like that. He's on the in, and all of a sudden now his name isn't even being mentioned. So, and because that was a name I believe all of us were kind of excited about with Drew doing it. So maybe I'm just feeling negative about all these other names because of the absence of Goddard. Maybe I need to get a little bit of distance and then reevaluate what I think about it. Levine is definitely an interesting name on that list. But I don't know. Does the fact that he's such great buddies with Joss Whedon, and now there's apparently this big falling out between Whedon and Marvel, but this is supposed to be a Sony picture? I mean, who knows? Right. Once again, there's probably a million facts that we have no idea of, but his absence from this list really is concerning to me. Anyway, Mark, you saw the list. What do you think about it?
I was just looking for Mark.
Oh, sorry, Christian.
Kidding.
I have called him Christian before, by the way, on the show.
But no, as far as the actual list goes, I buy the list because these are all talented dudes. But I'm with you. Where's Drew Goddard? Wait a minute. What? And I think that what that is, I just think it really proves more that Marvel has their hand in it going, that's not the tone. The thing that you guys were developing before, that tone was Sinister Six and that new thing you were talking about with Spider-Man, right. That's not the tone. From what I've read and heard is that they want to go in like John Hughes type direction with this Spider-Man, like the tone of how much younger he is. And that
but I heard that was originally Goddard's idea.
Was it?
Yeah.
See, but maybe because of his he can go dark or darker. Maybe they want it more fluffy. I mean, or not fluffy. That's not fair because if you look at Jonathan Levine, what he did, 50/50, I loved that movie. And to see if he can have that kind of dynamic with Peter Parker and in high school, to see him develop those characters, it could be that could work for what they want to do. But what I think it stands most from this list is I think it really shows Marvel's hand in this thing more than it's Sony's standalone.
I disagree with you completely. I think you're reading way too much into that. I think the Marvel deal with Sony had already been announced when they entered into talks with Drew Goddard. I mean, that had already happened. Yeah. So, I mean, it's not as if Sony was in talks with him and then the Marvel deal happened and all of a sudden Goddard is out.
I don't think it's Marvel saying that, hey, we don't want Drew. I think it more or less Marvel having more development of what the movie's going to be, and then maybe Drew saying, well, let's just maybe I'll step back from this because that's not the movie that I thought I was going to be making. Maybe just because there's more collaboration now with Marvel than originally beforehand.
Well,
Schnapp.
Mark, Fred.
I think you guys are both wrong. I would go with Jared Hess out of that list because this feels a lot like when they picked the Amazing Spider-Man director, Mark Webb. Remember, he had only directed that one movie, the 500 Days of Summer.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it was like, that guy? Really? And then I thought he did a good job.
But his name was Webb.
I know that they were like, it's either him or.
How can you not see the
yeah.
genius in that?
No, right. It was a genius casting there of the director. But I like the Amazing Spider-Man. I thought he did a good job. So with this list, I was looking at it, I was like, they don't really have, none of them have any kind of action credentials or superhero credentials, which is just like how they normally picked all these other directors. So I was like, out of this group, I would almost wing it towards Jared Hess. You know, the Napoleon Dynamite guy.
Right.
I mean, that's his name, right? Jared Hess.
Yeah.
Or 50-50 guy, Levine. You know, that was also a fun film. But I think Jared Hess has that sensibility. Like when you mentioned, that they were trying to go back into the high school thing, I instantly was like, wow, Napoleon Dynamite had that awkwardness. And imagine if it was that dude trying to do the dancing, but as Spider-Man. That would be it would be weird.
I'm just worried about
You're
the humor.
scaring me.
I know, right? That is
The other
pretty
thing about
frightening.
Hess is, don't forget, he's also the same guy who then did Nacho Libre. And I thought that movie was just so awful.
Could I also mention Levine? Didn't I? I said both of
Yes,
those guys.
yes, you
yeah.
did.
So,
Yes,
I
you
mean,
did.
I think, it's up in the air right now, but yeah, I don't know really why Godard's name is not in there. That is one of those head scratchers. And is it tied in with Whedon? I don't know if it's tied in with Whedon. It could be that, they just want to step away from that Sinister Six and that whole vibe. And they feel that maybe even if Drew's like, no, I could rewrite the whole thing there, they're thinking he might still be stuck or part of that older Spider-Man that they're now not going with.
Or for all we know, Drew's got 5 other projects that have been offered to him and lined up.
Right.
Or Sony with Marvel have suddenly decided they want to go in a completely new direction.
Right.
I mean, who knows? It's just really weird that it seemed like such a good
agree.
fit. And then all of a sudden it's gone. Very odd. All right, what's next?
Marvel has unveiled their new official one-sheet theatrical poster for their upcoming film Ant-Man. The film hits AMC theaters on July 17th. Schnapp Buyer saw the new poster for Ant-Man.
I like half buy it. It's just like, those pictures with everybody's faces and everything. I wish it was a little more dynamic. That's all to me. I mean, you definitely see everybody who's going to be in it, but for me, I wanted to see a Yellow Jacket or something a little more dynamic. Maybe Ant-Man riding an ant or something. It feels like it doesn't feel like an Ant-Man poster. Is what I'm trying to say. It's a cool looking poster. It's moody, but I don't know. I haven't seen the film yet.
I am so excited for this movie. I thought the last trailer was really great. I've loved the casting. This poster sucks. This is an awful poster. I mean, it honestly looks like a fan-made Photoshop thing with bad, exterior glow effects and the whole. There is nothing about this poster to like at all. And so while I'm super stoked for the movie, it's a terrible poster to me at any rate. So I sell it.
Yeah, I sell the poster. Also, the one thing I buy about it, I'm excited for the costume. I think
Me too.
To put the costume out there in the forefront. But yeah, I agree with you guys. It's kind of generic. It's like, even if you look at the Avengers posters, they're piling up the characters on top of one another. That's what all the Marvel pictures are. It's like, there's our main character in the back. There's his mentor. There's the villain. And it's like, there's everything right there with the big title on the bottom. It's like, well, that's our Marvel poster. That's what we do. It's like, it's a new property. Let's give us something a little more exciting. So this poster necessarily didn't do it for me. Do I still want to see the movie? Absolutely.
All right, folks, we reached that part of the show for mailbag. Listen, if you've got a topic or a question you'd like us to address on the show, you can email us anytime at amcmovietalk@gmail.com. So, Ashley, what's in the mailbag?
Andy Reeves writes, "Hi guys, love your show. I wanted to ask about the new Friday the 13th movie that was announced in 2013. Is it dead or are they still working on it? It's not found footage, right?"
As far as I know, they are still working on it. And to your and my chagrin, it is indeed going to be a found footage movie from everything that I understand. This is coming from the same director who did the first VHS movie, not to be confused with the Weird Al Yankovic masterpiece. But this is something I'm very hesitant about. I mean, and look, and it's not because of Platinum Dune. I mean, look, Platinum Dune just gave us Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and I'm like, hey, actually, I ended up liking that. But found footage, I'm over. And so as far as I know, it's still coming, but I'm so down on it. Michael, what do you think?
Well, George, I'm going to have to sell this. Are we still buying or selling, or is this
Still,
the question?
no, this is mailbag now.
I'm still selling it. I am really upset that they did a reboot of Friday the 13th. They had a great new Jason, Derek Mears. He was great. And then they just waited and waited and waited and waited and waited. And I'm like, look, you made money on the Friday the 13th movie. Why didn't you just make another one? That's part of the plan. When you make a low-budget horror movie and you make money, then you make another one and you make more money. And you release one every year until you phased out and made like 7 of them. Then you got to take a break and then do that again. With this Friday the 13th, I've read, articles from one of the producers like, well, we're really thinking about it. We're really going to take a new spin on this. It's not this so simple that you could write it in an afternoon. It's kids go to Camp Crystal Lake and a weird creepy dude is there and he's going to kill them one by one. So that's it. And then there's a whole bunch of different ways you could do it. You could do it found footage, which I think is really stupid, dumb, and played out. But that's me. So you could do it that way, which is what they're really convinced they're going to do. And also found footage is one of the cheapest ways to do anything. You just like sloppily run around with a handy cam and there we have our movie. You know, it takes some finessing to actually make a really good found footage film, but almost anybody can do it. So once again, it's like, and you could do it really cheaply. So why don't you make 5 Friday the 13th with 5 different directors, all found footage, and pick the best one? It'll only cost you $50. You know what I mean? It's like, what is taking so long to make a Friday the 13th movie? This is ridiculous. It's gone into the era of ridiculousness. That's where it is right now.
Well, for a long time, I know there was a lot of drama with rights, because remember there was a rights thing going on between Paramount and Warner Brothers, and there was some trading of rights that got Warner Brothers the right to distribute, I think, or be one of the distributors for the latest Christopher Nolan film, Interstellar. I keep on wanting to say Inception. Yeah. And that was actually part of the deal. And so that was a long delay, but you're right. And going back to your other point, that last Friday the 13th movie with Supernatural star Jared Padalecki, always mispronounce his last name, cost $19 million to make, made over $90 million at the box office. It's like, isn't that exactly what you're going for by making these schlocky horror films?
It's boggling.
I don't know. Yeah. Christian, what do you think?
Well, Key Peele. I think as far as this movie goes, I don't care as far as in general. Friday the 13th. I'm just so done with it. It should have been done when he was in space. But
that was a good one.
But you're right, though. It made money. The last remake that they made, found footage. It's certainly done in the horror genre. What's next? Is Jason gonna be Skyping? Are we gonna have Jason Skyping with Freddy? That's what I'd rather see.
Jason unfriended.
Yeah.
Plunk, plunk.
I'd rather see Jason and Freddy Part 2. And I'd rather them do it right. But if they're going to do Friday the 13th again, I'd like them to really strip it back to basics and go retro style. I mean, look at what Robert Rodriguez did with that B movie with Machete. The second one is horrendous. But in the style, it's like you felt like you were watching an old B movie. Why not go back and make like feel like I'm watching on VHS tape the first Friday the 13th movie? Like to go back into what its roots are and just paint it as this, like you shot it for $5 million. And even if you have some good talent attached, give me that feel, that gritty feel like I'm actually watching an old school horror movie. It's too glossy now. It feels like it's like a wrestling event where they're going, and here he comes, Jason, and it just super jumped the shark. So I'd like to see them reboot it with the grit.
Going back to what you're just talking about get a feel of the grit, the original style stuff. You've heard me mention this film before. I highly recommend if you have not seen it. I think it's on Netflix. It's this little horror film that's kind of also a commentary on horror films. It's called Behind the Mask, The Rise of Leslie Vernon. The movie is brilliant. Go check it out. You will not regret it. It's really funny, but also insightful into the whole genre. Behind the Mask, The Rise of Leslie Vernon.
It's a meta horror film.
Yeah,
it's a
that's
documentary
really
crew filming like a Jason or a Freddy. So it's a great film.
Check it out. All right, Trixie, what's next?
Tremaine writes, greetings and salutations, AMC. I know you get a lot of questions about sequels, but I was wondering if the Real Steel sequel is officially no longer in the works. I know the movie was okay to most people, but after watching it again recently, I really want to see these characters revisited.
I didn't think the movie was okay. I loved that movie. I was so surprised by Real Steel because it looks like rough Rock'em Sock'em robots. I mean, come on. But the movie was was charming. It was surprisingly human. It was, well, at the core of it, it was really a movie about a dad and his son at its real core. Really nice characters. They found a way to make boxing robots look exciting and fun. Having Sugar Ray Leonard in there to choreograph the fights did not hurt either. But I mean, I really, really like this movie. And they talked very quickly about their desire to do another one. The cast and crew, the director and the actors, they all loved working together. It was financially successful. It was a family-friendly film, which you can run with that for a while. And then crickets. I have no explanation. I have not heard anything about any movement at all. Now, granted, Hugh Jackman is a guy who's gotten really busy. And so has the director, Sean Levy has also gotten quite busy. But I mean, actually, Ray and I actually talked to Sean Levy and Hugh Jackman about Real Steel. We were together there talking about, and it's like, and they talked about, yeah, we want to get on this horse and we want to do this again, and then nothing. Have you guys heard anything about it?
No, but I think you're exactly right. I think that those guys are super busy, and I think that maybe the money that it might take to get them both back, I don't want to see it without Hugh Jackman, and I don't want to see it without Sean Levy. I really don't. This is kind of the theme of the week so far, is teaming up. Right. Hey, that movie made money. Now that guy's not available, so let's get that director who doesn't know it as well as the first one did, and we can't get the star. So it's what happened in Major League when Wesley Snipes was in the first one, and then they replaced him with Omar Epps. Nope, doesn't work. So I would want it to happen with the original team. I agree with you, John. I really enjoyed that movie. I liked Real Steel. I wound up seeing it twice in the theater because I thought it was going to be terrible. Yeah. And it felt like a Rocky movie, and it was certainly more enjoyable than anything we watched on Saturday night between it was Mayweather and Pacquiao. So
the robots didn't hug enough, right?
They needed to hug more.
So and the kid was great. The kid was great.
Dakota Goyo, who was also the child version of Thor in the original Thor film. Oh, wow. Yeah. So when we see little Thor and Loki running around, that's the same kid from Real Steel.
Wolverine.
This is coming up on almost 10 years now.
No, 4 years. Coming up on 4 years.
Really?
Yeah.
Real Steel was made in like 2010 or
2011.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, I mean, if it's not in development in the next few years, it'll be 2000. It'll be 10 years.
Thanks, Bob.
I feel like a sequel to this would be served better to be done later. I don't mind them waiting 10 years because then they can actually have the father-son. Some time has passed, and maybe the robot battles have evolved a little bit more. So,
well, and the kid will be in a different age then too, right? So you can make a different kind of movie that way.
And Evangeline Lilly's going to be busy too. I mean, so everyone's busy. I think that you answered the question right when we start talking about this thing. I think everyone on this team is swamped.
Yeah. All right, folks. So listen, not only do we like taking your questions via email, we love taking your questions via Twitter. So just hop on Twitter and tweet out a question to us. Just make sure you use the hashtag AMC Movie Talk. Include that hashtag in your question, and that'll get to us. So, Ashley, what is in the Twitter sphere now?
David Z writes, "Hey guys, love to watch your shows. I am just wondering, will there be a Taken 4?
I doubt it. Now, I think Taken 3 was 15 years ago. Is that I'm not really sure. But Taken 3 kind of
came out in 1971.
Yeah, it's a 60s film.
Yeah. Taken 3 was not, super well received and all that. And I just got the feeling from Liam. I was going to call him Liam Hemsworth.
Oh, nice. Leslie Nielsen.
Your favorite actor.
We're just going completely off the rails today. The Liam Neeson wanted, I got the feeling he did not want to do another one either. So I think, look, they finished the trilogy off. And honestly, I didn't think Taken 3 was the massive car wreck that a lot of other people, I thought there was some redeeming qualities about it. Although even that's about as good as I can say. I think, look, you finished it, you put it to bed, move on. And I also think Neeson is at a point in his career now where he's like, remember a couple of years ago, he's saying, look, I like doing these action films and I've only got a couple of years left that I can do them. And you see him stockpiling a lot of action films. But I think now he's getting to the point where I think he wants to move back into those other films and those roles that always used to get him like Academy chatter about him too. So I think we're probably done with the Taken franchise. What do you think?
God, I hope so. I can't take anymore. The last two have been brutal, but what I like to see him do is more stuff like, because Run All Night I didn't hate. I like more to where he's doing the action, but combining it with an actual story and characters that I care about, and even Beyond the Tombstones. I think that was the other one.
Right. Walk Among the Tombstones.
Walk Among the Tombstones. Right. So those two movies are. I'd rather see, if he's going to do more of the action kind of thrillers, I'd rather see him do that kind of stuff, because Taken, it's like what the cat gets taken, the dog gets taken. The Maggie Grace is already, so she's 75 playing, she's 19. So enough with it.
I thought he said he was going to do like Taken 4. He said, I'm going to do Taken 4 and that'll be it.
I don't. You might be right.
I remember
you
reading
totally
that
might be
'cause
right.
he said, "I'm like going to be capping off my action films. I'm definitely going to be taking 4.
man.
Yeah, it's going to be directed by Omni Punch. It's this brand new robotic director. Yeah.
Well, for now, what's next,
All
Tommy
right.
Punch?
Gregory Zarilla writes, "Hi, AMC Movie News. Do you think we are ever getting a League of Extraordinary Gentlemen sequel? BOTF."
Well, here's the funny thing is I actually worked on League of Extraordinary Gentlemen. Such a great idea for a movie. You got such awesome characters. I mean, that could have been truly the first Avengers movie in many ways. And that movie sucks.
So bad.
So bad. And I wish I could say that it didn't, but it really was bad. It was the movie that retired Sean Connery.
Yeah.
Not just because the movie was bad, but because he had such a horrible time making that film. Because he was also the producer on that film. Like he was making that film go, and he had such a terrible experience making it. And Now, could they revisit League of Extraordinary Gentlemen? Could they reboot that thing? You're damn right you can, because there are many ways you can make that pretty damn awesome in many, many ways. But yeah, that first one was just a total, there's no way to describe it other than a failure. And I don't think you're going to see a sequel to it, Schnepp.
No, definitely no sequel, please. I mean, I think that's a perfect example of like, if you're a comic book fan and you buy these comics, like I read all of the League of Extraordinary Gentlemen by Alan Moore, and I thought they were fantastic. And then the movie comes out and it's garbage. It didn't affect me. The comic, I still had the comic. I was like, oh, he's writing more comic books. So he went on. He's still writing League. You know, you can still pick up a new edition like every 1 or 2 years. A brand new hardcover comes out where it's a different tale from a different time, and that's what's so fantastic about this kind of strange world where like these weird adaptations like of your favorite book or comic book, if the movie doesn't hit it, you can always do a reboot. So I would say this series has every possibility to be an incredible movie if it was done right. So I would love to see someone do a brand new take on League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, because it has the potential there. It's all these incredible characters: Nemo, Hyde,
Alan Quartermain.
It's incredible. And what he's done by like taking all these different characters and fusing them together is pretty fantastic in the comic books. In fact, if they just stuck to the comics and just were like, lifted that and made that the movie, they would have been fantastically way better set up than what that weird, strange film was.
I mean, for God's sakes, Footloose got a reboot. This movie could. That's what I mean. There's so much there. Is there ever going to be a sequel? No, because that movie it's not. The other word to describe it is boring.
Yeah.
It is boring. You try to watch that movie and it's got Sean Connery, and you're like, please, Sean, just say something. Oh no, you can't do it. It's so bad. And it's funny that movie killed any chances for a comic that has such rich characters and history. Like just that one film did that. Mm-hmm. I think that with the right writers and directors attached to it, with someone going into execs and go, here's how we do this thing. Here's how we make it. And we can attach so-and-so here, that you make it sexy enough to the studio. It will happen eventually. Now,
okay, so this weekend, 3 of us, we go to Vegas, we hammer out a spec.
That's it.
We take it to the studio and say, this is how you do it.
Yeah, exactly. That's a great opinion, Josh.
And hey, just going back to what you were saying, there's a quote from, once again, I was going to say Hemsworth, Liam Neeson, who said, there's always, I think if audience want to go see it and they like the characters, I mean, I'd love to do something with Forrest Whitaker again. And if it's in a Taken 4 scenario, great. So he had mentioned it, but I think it's probably pretty much dead. But
I just think of Fugitive 2 when I hear that type of thing. It's like, no thanks.
Man, now you got me thinking about The Fugitive. I want to watch that again.
Such a great movie.
All right, folks, that'll do it for us for this installment of AMC Movie Talk. Thank you so much for joining us. Listen, don't forget, lots of great films playing at AMC Theaters right now. Head on over to www.amctheaters.com for all of your theater, showtime, and of course your movie ticket information. If you'd like an audio-only version of this episode, look in the description of this video and you'll find a link to our podcast feed. And don't forget, most importantly, subscribe to this YouTube channel. It's free, keeps you up to date on all the great shows here on AMC Movie News, and we hope to have you on board with us. I want to thank, first of all, the guy sitting at the table with me. Sitting over here, Mr. Jon Schnepp. Schnepp, where can people find you online?
You guys can find me on Twitter and Instagram, just at Jon Schnepp and at TDOSLWH. And in about 2 weeks, I'll be in London for the MCM London Comic-Con, and I'll be screening my film, so you can get your tickets in advance. Get your tickets at the MCM London Comic-Con.com, whatever their site is. I'll have more information about that. I can't remember exactly what the site is, but you can pre-order your tickets right now. We're doing a screening there.
Over here sitting on my right, Mr. Christian Ellis. Christian, where can people find you?
You can find me obviously on Periscope, but besides that, Twitter and Instagram at Christian Harloff. And this week, there was so much Star Wars news. There's a lot of great stuff we're going to talk about on Jedi Council. So much stuff to talk about. So join us over there Thursdays, hashtag AMC Jedi Council, and get your questions on the air.
And of course, our lovely host today, Miss Ashley Mova. Ashley, where can people find you?
You guys can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Trixie Mova. Happy Wednesday, guys.
And you can find me, just follow me on Twitter or on Facebook. It's just at John Campia. That'll do it for us, guys. Thanks so much for joining us. And until next time, bye-bye.